What is destiny? And what does it have to do with the life that we live and how we should live? And do we have any control over it? Or is it something that's there for the taking? You know, I'd like to think that I'm going to have a great destiny, or I'm going to do something that'd be like, yeah, this was my destiny or something. But how true is it that you must follow your destiny, and how are you ever supposed to know what it is? But isn't that what it's kind of all about, is to find out what it is that we're destined for? But also, how does it connect to our aspirations? How does it connect to what we want to make of ourselves, and the the achievements, the notoriety, the the just things that we want to achieve and grab? And do we necessarily have a choice as to what it is that drives us? You know, we go through these things in our childhood. You know, people who have necessarily bad childhoods are gonna grow up to crave power, money, because they don't want to go through that. They don't want their kids to go through that. They want to prosper. Or they'll grow up with hate and disgust for things of that sort because they never had it and they don't want anybody else to have it, in a way. But kids who grow up in these kind of conditions and who crave these things and crave the power, money, all that, is it set for us when we're born for us to go through these things? And is that the no choice that we have in the matter? But at the same time, we kind of do. I believe that we do, because we can, or, you know, if you can kind of try to see where you're heading, what your dreams are and your desires and all that, and you can move towards that. You can choose not to. But what else is there to fill that emptiness that you felt because you were powerless when you were younger, because you went through those things when you were young? And you know, these things that we do to get what we achieve, I feel like most of the things that we do aren't even things that we recognize as things that moved us into that direction to grasp what our destiny is. Because it's just the attitude and the mindset and the things that you don't do, or that you do unconsciously without realizing it, the small things that push you, that build the structures to harbor the big things that you do to go further. You know, whether you believe in destiny or not. But I feel like you have an understanding, or yeah, you have an understanding of what it is that you want to achieve, and but you don't have an understanding of how far you're willing to go. I feel like for most people, but for the people who do go that far, they know. They know that they'll do anything for it. And they'll go as far as they can to be somebody. They'll go as far as they can to achieve what they've been missing. And I feel like that might make the difference between people who are destined for great things and who are destined to fail. But it's also a scary thought, because I'd like to believe that, and I would do anything to achieve my goal, but there isn't. I don't know what to do. But I don't really want to talk about myself, really. But just unrelenting pressure towards that goal, towards that future you want to create for yourself. Unrelenting pressure, unrelenting, like, drive. That's what makes the difference between people who manifest their destiny and people who kind of drift off. But I don't know. Yeah. But it's just interesting, because if that's the case, is it that people who aren't gonna meet their destiny, is it all just because they stopped? Is that why when you fail you get back up again and you push and you push and you push? And that seems to be the secret, that most people just can't hack it because they just don't get up enough times. It's like, you just gotta keep going towards whatever it is you want. But how hungry are you? How much desire, willpower, how much are you going to pour into it to get it? And are you strong enough to push past the feelings of anger, sadness, despair, of thinking that you're not going to make it, because why would you? You're nobody special. Or you try to tell yourself that so you're not conceited, but you secretly you want to be special to yourself, and you still try to push. But just a wonder of how it works. Because it's just a case of, you just got to keep going, keep going, keep going. What if you're 70? You got to keep going then. But, I got a lot of time before I'm 70, luckily. It's just a wonder for what can I do to create this for myself. Where can I go? Who can I be? What can I do to just, where can I throw my unrelenting pressure, drive to manifest this future that I create, my quote unquote destiny, if that is what it is. But it's interesting how it is all about kind of where you grew up, how you grew up, the environment, because people who, let's say, are born, like, let's say for Barron Trump, for example, are very, like, 0.0000, like 1% of a chance, of kind of being that kind of person. But being the son of that kind of person, he's obviously, like, destined to do business, have money, be successful. Maybe not like destined to be successful, but I mean, I guess he is. But he's destined to work like that because of who he is and how he grew up in the family that he was born into. But let's go more on the opposite end. You're a kid and grew up in the favelas, and your dream is to be like Messi one day. And then you see all this hardship around you, but you stay focused. You are born next to a soccer field, and at the same time, they're holding tournaments for under 18 kids to play, and you've been waiting for this. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but with the mindset of no matter what, I'm gonna do it. And you go out there and you fucking kill everybody. And just lo and behold, there was a scout in that stadium. Not stadium, but like, a scout over there in that field. He saw you play. He saw that passion, drive, desire that you have for becoming somebody. And he takes a liking to you. Would you say that he was destined to go to the MLA? Wait, I don't know if it is the MLS? Major League Soccer. I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't watch soccer or football. But if you would say that he's destined, what about the other 20 kids that were on that field? And they, maybe not some of them put all their passion out there, but some did. What's the difference? Why was he chosen, but the other ones weren't? Is it due to something else? Is it the case of if somebody else was picked, they wouldn't have gone as far as he would have, and so the world saw this and picked him? Or that wouldn't be the case because, we've many times there's been stories of people being picked but just couldn't hack it because they weren't pushing hard enough. But I feel like that's too broad. But being in that kind of situation, could you control it? Your destiny, supposedly? Oh, damn. But at the same time, if that kid wasn't picked and he still kept going, regardless, still put his whole heart out there because he loves the game. But because he has that love and because he kept going, he eventually gets picked up by a different recruiter, Is that the case? I feel like I'm going too into it, but, just what can you do to try and maybe not control your destiny, but try to work as hard as you possibly can to open up more opportunities for that destiny to occur. Where if you maybe not this scout, but the next scout, oh, well, I guess that one didn't work out. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna work harder than the next scout. He didn't give up after the first scout because he's like, that's just one opportunity. I know there'll be multiple out there. Is it just based off of the mindset, the mentality that you have? And it definitely plays a part, that's for sure. But to work as hard as you possibly can to get the most opportunities to go where you want to go. And just foot on the gas the entire time and to have the attitude of, is it, yeah, it is what it is. And you move forward and you go through it, because there's definitely something in allowing things to just flow through you instead of chasing. To allow it to come through instead of desperately trying to grab on to this thing that's always outrunning you because you so desperately want it, that you're trying to think as hard as you can, do everything that you possibly can to grab this future for yourself, but instead let it come to you. I think the thing is like you're trying to immediately grab this future instead of letting those potential futures come to you. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but obviously it's like, what do you think you're destined for? And what do you feel like? I don't really know where I was going with that, but what I was trying to say was you can't be like specific, like, oh, like, or having a certain goal in mind, but staying open to the other possibilities of what could happen. Like, say you want to be like specifically, you're gonna the what's a lucrative fucking spot. Like, say you want to be the number one financial advisor in the state of fucking Pennsylvania in, I don't know, a town in Pennsylvania, like a specific town, specific place, specific time. Like in 10 years, I'm going to be this, and that's my dream, and I'm going to make that my destiny. It's like, no, that's not how it works, in my opinion. I feel like if you want to try to achieve what you feel like you're destined for, you have to be open-minded to the ebbs and flows of what could be, what you know can't be. And by moving forward, but still having the goal of being better and focusing on what is true to you. Because you can have that goal of, in 10 years, I'm going to be specifically in this spot, on this day, in this position, and you can have that in mind. And you can. But to think that specifically is your destiny is wrong, because life is like a very changing thing that doesn't work for you. But you can have that goal in mind and work towards it. But then you say in 5 years, you're not the number one, but you're in the top 10 of that specific spot, that place, not the time. But 5 years later, you're getting closer. But then someone is like, hey, there's a better opportunity over here. You can make more money. You can have a chance to rise up and whatnot. And, maybe it's not specifically what you had in mind, but you're there. You're still working towards what you believe is meant for you. And so you have to flow with it as it goes and put yourself in these better opportunities to get lucky, depending on what your goal is. If you're ambitious, like way too ambitious like myself, then you would just, yeah, fuck, I lost what I was about to say, but oh. Anyways, just depends on how you go about it, and you just gotta flow through it and go where you're supposed to. That works for you. Because I don't want to say go where you're supposed to, like you were supposed to be there, or like you have no choice in the matter. Because I believe you do. I believe you do. If you recognize it, if you see what it is that you're working for. If you don't, then it'll hit you like a truck when you're there. Because if you don't really know what you're fighting for, like if you just constantly ponder, what am I destined for? What am I destined for? And then 20 years later, you're looking back and it's like, or maybe let's go farther, like 30 or 40 years. And you're looking back and you're like, oh, this is what I was destined for. I was questioning it the entire time, but I didn't see that this is what I was working towards the entire time. I was working towards this, and I didn't see it because I was just constantly questioning it. And because of that, I kind of wasted a bunch of time. But I'm here now. But it just took me a lot longer than it would have if I just let it happen. Because this kind of goes, just like a brief moment when I said in my last video, I was talking about Thomas Campbell's. He was talking about how, like, people who would try at a test would fail if they were too into it, but they would do much better if they had like a whatever happens happens mentality. And I believe that that's a very like necessary thing to have in your arsenal of mindsets, if that makes sense. But because if you always have like a whatever happens happens attitude, and you just go through life the entire time is like, oh, whatever happens happens, well, then nothing's really going to happen, because you're just not working towards it. Because you still have to allow things to come in through you, but grab the opportunity when it hits you and work off of that, build off of it, but still embrace the failure that might occur, even if you take that opportunity and know that it is what it is, and this is how it happened, and I'm going to keep going no matter what. And so, yeah, destiny is an interesting topic that people have been pondering for thousands of years because they've been trying to question their existence. But, that's also another thing, is that, is our existence even worth fucking questioning? Because what significance do we even have for people who are destined for huge things? like, say some obscure ruler back then felt he was destined to rule his country 3,000 years ago. And he worked his ass off, did all that. And finally, at his time, he became ruler. And he was like, I was destined for this. I knew it in my heart. I knew it. But the entire time, he would question his own destiny. But would it really even matter? Because today, we don't know about that man. We don't know nothing about him. But I guess you could argue that in his time, it was what was meant to happen. So, I guess instead of the aspect of the duration of humanity, if you're trying to aim for something great that people will remember you for thousands of years to come, better be something fucking special. Like Elon Musk type special, because he will be remembered for thousands of years to come, if we even live that long. But he'll be remembered because of what he's doing. And, but just depending on your time scale and what you want to be, how you want to be remembered. And that could play into your destiny if you're real ambitious. It's just, a fickle thing that changes all the time. But if you just keep working towards it, something's bound to happen. That's for sure. Right now, I wasn't sure if that shit was recording or not. I was like, because I didn't click the fucking recording button last time, and I was like yapping for like 20 minutes, and I was like, fuck, all that shit's gone. But no, I remembered, I click record. Anyways. And then you can talk about, like, destiny in these recent events, like the Trump shooting, the COVID crisis, the 4 years that Biden served. That had to happen for sure. The fires in LA, those have to happen. These things that have happened that are current events, you could say they were destined to happen so people can have a different mindset or see what is true. But we don't necessarily have to think that something that is destined is particular to what a person must do. Could be something that just has to occur, which sucks because people who have died in the fires, people who died during COVID, people who died, the couple of people who died in the Trump shooting, people who've died to obesity and sickness, are deaths a part of what we call destiny? Like, if these things are so destined to happen, will death just follow? And were those people destined to die because these things were destined to happen? And then you think about it, it's like, well, does death must happen? And it's like, yeah, at the same time, it kind of has to happen. But what about the people who had those aspirations to be great, and then something happened and they died? It's like, what kind of fucked up person were they going to become, fucking Hitler 2.0 or something? But, I probably shouldn't say that, but you know, just makes you wonder, out of the many billions of people on this planet, how many of them could turn out like, the mustache man, but don't, because they died. And, it's horrible to think like that, like some poor kid in Africa, who dies. Like, oh, he could have been the next one, you never know. But to think like that also is just, yeah, death. He died, whatever. And then you put it like that, it's just horrible. But truly, you never know. Because some of them, and I'm not saying poor kids in Africa, but, some people might have turned out to be horrible. And the man with the mustache, like, maybe was destined to happen so we can understand in the very short time now that doing those kinds of things isn't right. But I mean, you should always know that doing those things aren't right anyways, but, it's just trying to make sense of randomness, which doesn't work. But there's a pattern to it. There's a direction that this randomness is kind of pushing us towards. And it's just a question of, will it be good? Or will it just push us to more darkness so we can have appreciation for the light? Because as we get farther and farther from the time of darkness, and as we begin to become accustomed to the light that we're in, will we have to have another period of darkness? Which kind of makes you worried. But, you can never know, and just always have to be optimistic, hopeful, cheerful. To bring goodness into the world, there must be someone with good values. Anyways, been talking too long. I appreciate all of you guys who are watching, always, and hope you guys have a good day. Love you all. Thank you.